All right, let's now go on to our third essential plugin. The first being, of course, the Quick Map Services. The second being geocoding. Quick Map Services, by the way, does show up down here, and geocoding shows up over here. These binoculars, this world with a plus. And now we need the third essential plugin to make this really useful, and that is QuickOSM. So we'll go to Quick again. This time we'll say OSM, and there it is. This is OpenStreetMap, and it says there's a new version available, so I'll upgrade my plugin. And now, when I close, if I look under here, it doesn't show up. It is not under plugins. Is it under web? No. Is it under layer? Or is it under vector? It's under vector, not plugins, not web, such as Quick Map Services, not plugins, geocoding. It is under vector because it's bringing in vector information. Vectors are information that looks like, let's see, this is vector stuff. No matter how you zoom in, it stops being blurry, and when it's blurry, that's raster. This is a hybrid of vector and raster. You can see that the vectors, which are the names, keep changing and getting clearer. At a certain point, the image cannot get any clearer because it is a raster, which means it is pixels, colored pixels that are making it up. At 328 is made up of colored pixels, and those pixels can only be made so small, whereas other things like the word Quebec, Ontario, well, even those are rasters. That's how you can tell if it's a raster. If its size is like that, then it is a raster. If it endlessly zooms in, looks like we've reached the extent of that. So that's a raster as well. So what would a vector look like? Well, a vector would be like these icons here. No matter how I zoom in on them, they always look well defined because they're made by math, not by pixels. So it doesn't really matter how much you zoom in or zoom out. A vector is a line or a polygon or a point describing mathematical equations, not pixel information. So that's why it's found under vector. So go to vector, QuickOSM is there, and when you go to QuickOSM and you click on it, then you have queries you can do. Now there are presets, for example, buildings, houses, and all that. And before you use it, you should have a location that you want to get your OpenStreetMap information for. So I'll open the attribute table of my geocoding, and I'll go to Muhammad VI Polytechnic University, right-click, and zoom to the feature. Of course, what did I do wrong? I didn't set the scale, so let me go to there. And now I'm at Muhammad VI. And so if I'm looking at Ben Gurir, the town, and I'm looking at the university, and I choose something like this scale, and I want to find the railroad station, for example, then I go up to Vector and to QuickOSM, and then under Features, Presets, there's Buildings, there's Crafts, there's Facilities. Somewhere under Transportation, which I should be able to find here, if I can type Transportation, aerial ways, cable cars, railway, so aerial way, Surely they have rail, public transport, station, rail. So that's a route. Maybe I want to look at an actual station, railway platform. Let's try that. Railway platform. So the key is railway and the value is platform. And then we want to do it in the canvas extent, which is how much we're seeing on the map here. Don't do layer extent because our layer for the geocoding plugin was everything, and we have not gotten more specific in a layer. There's no boundaries to any of these layers yet. So use canvas extent. And within that canvas extent, if we now run the query, we can see that it was successful and 2 layers have been added. But where are they? So there's a railway station polygon. Zoom to layer. There it is. That is the information that it gave. It gave a platform. That's where we arrived in Ben Guerir. Hard to see when you're at this level, but there it is. If we looked at the railway platform and zoom to layer, once again, that's there, and it is there as a very thin line, which you can see there. Now we could make that thicker by double clicking on it and then saying that it should be in pixels. We can change the width dramatically. Let's make it 4 pixels and apply it. See if that had any salubrious effect. It's a little bit thicker. Let's go up to 20 and apply. Yeah, now you can see it a little better. You can hit OK. And so you can change it so you can see it better when you're looking at it in relation to the university here. The platform now does show up. We didn't change that aspect, but we're using this feature to see it better. Another thing that you could use this for, and I should say for this, I can say, double click on here and say Ben Guerir Railway Platform and say OK, and now it has been saved. The railway platform there, probably not necessary to even keep. So let me remove this. Where's my remove layer? There it is. So I don't need that. I will make this a little more obvious by changing it in its aspect to, well, you see, interesting, it doesn't, maybe we should have kept the other because this doesn't really give us an easy way to change the symbol. So no harm done. Let's go back to edit and see if we can't undo. Look at that. Nope, can't undo it. Therefore, we will run the query again. Vector, QuickOSM, and we will go railway, transport railway. And if I do railway instead of railway platform, notice there's a lot more stuff that can be put in the query. And I'll say canvas extent. Let's see what happens with all this. This puts in construction, funiculars, trams. There's a whole lot more information in this query that we can use. So I'll run the query, and it's put in a whole bunch more. Where has it put it? Well, let's zoom to this. Oh, there's all sorts of dots on the landscape near there. That's why. And if you want to know what they are, go up to the information thing and say, well, what's this? This is a railway narrow gauge. This one here is Ben Gurir. That's the train station, evidently. And probably if we were to go to the railway platform and zoom to it, yes, then we find there's other dots here that are the railway platform as indicated by this layer here. And then there is another layer, which is the actual tracks that you can see here. Let's make these pretty big. Let's make these about 20. Apply, ooh, much too big, actually. Let's make them 10 and apply. Okay, a little bit better, and let's change it to dashed black. There's our railways, and say okay. And now you can see with this layer, it goes extensively throughout the landscape, starting here. So you can see the railways. This one here, these points are very small. So if we made these bigger, maybe make them 10, then we have that information. And so we see different level crossing, that one's called, and this one here is the actual railway of Ben Gurir, it says, and then up here you have a level crossing. So you get whatever information the OpenStreetMap community has added, and then of course it truncates because we're outside of the canvas extents. That's a level crossing as well. And if I want to know then the relationship to schools, these are all layers that you can turn off and turn on. So there's the platform. I do want to see, by the way, if I don't want to bring back the other thing, how would I make it bigger? I go to simple fill, and I can make the stroke width a lot bigger. I can go to pixels here and go to 20 there and say apply. There we go. That makes it show up. Fill style can be a diagonal crosshatch. You can do that. That doesn't really change. Stroke color. The stroke color is actually black, which is fine, but it is far too big. So let's bring this down. And now apply even that. It's probably too big. 5. Well, it shows up there, but the color isn't ideal. And apply that. Now it shows up. So that's the railway platform, made a little bigger so we can see it in relation. And then when we click on that, it says platform. And we see when we walked from Muhammad VI University to the railway, that's how far we walked through. So if we want to see restaurants, because on the way from the university to the railway station, we did stop at a restaurant, then once again, you can go to Vector and QuickOSM and you can type in restaurants. And let's see what shows up under restaurants, if anything. Facilities, food, drinks, and restaurant. And then in the canvas extent, and we will run the query, and there's probably going to be a lot. So let's see, amenity restaurant. Let's see what's found in here. So there's amenity restaurant, and when we click on it and here go to our fill and stroke color, let's make that stroke color kind of bluish color, purple, and then make this stroke width so that we can see it better. Maybe we'll go to 5 pixels there, hit apply. We see that the restaurant that's identified, and the only one that's in the data set, is this one here, restaurant UM6P. And it gives the website. So if you want to know what eats there are at the university, découvrez nos écoles et programmes, then accept. It takes you to the website of the college. It doesn't seem to take us to the restaurant. But that's the information that the OpenStreetMap has for this. Doesn't seem like it picked up any other restaurants in the city, so maybe that query is not the best query for picking up restaurants. Let's see if we find here dining. No. And let's see food, facilities, food and drinks. Food courts, restaurants are all there. Do it in the canvas extent. Run the query. And let's see if anything else shows up. Yes, there's a whole bunch of them now, tiny little purple dots. But we will go for the fast food here, and we will change this to pixels and go for 5 pixels. Still too tiny. I probably should have made it 20 pixels and applied it. There we go. Much bigger, much better. Let's see if we make them orange. There we go. All right, so now we have a lot more restaurants, and when you click on them, you can see, for example, this cafe, which is known as Makha Stadium. Oh, it's the coffee house of the stadium is there. This one here doesn't have, the name is Mahfood, and there are a few others. Up here it says it is Ibn Jazir and Haywarda, which means the corner of the flowers. Here's Cafe Snack Casablanca. All of this information that you're seeing is actually attribute table information. And if I go here and right click and go to open attribute table, then you see the data. And that way, if you wanted to go to the cafe doner for the doner kebab, you could click on this and right click. You'll see it turns yellow in there. So this is cafe doner, but we're accessing it from the attribute table. And when I click on any of these, they will show up in yellow. This one is a cafe called Cafe Yabin, and the Cafe Snack Casablanca would show up. There it is over there. This one's Cafe Casablanca. This one here is Cafe Galaxy. So this information is provided. So if we then look for facilities, food and drinks cafe, or a bar, ice cream, restaurant. We've tried restaurant. Let's just try a cafe and in the canvas extent and see what that pulls up in here. Sometimes it's useful and sometimes it isn't. And here the amenity cafe doesn't seem to do all that much that we didn't get in the fast food. When we open up, you'll see basically this is the same information, meaning that the whole area has not been mapped by OpenStreetMap. Not everything is in there. We do know, as we saw, that the university is there, and if I do one more query on the university and I go education facilities, kindergarten, childcare, school, universities, more of those are going to come up. Put it in the canvas extent, run the query, and it's taking its time because it seems like there's a lot of information to pull. And there we go. So 2 layers have been added, and there's the buildings there in gray. I don't favor the gray. I'm going to go to this look here. All right, so there is a piece here which is a kindergarten. That came up. Again, I'm using this tool up here, the information tool. This one here is another university. It's come in under kindergarten, but that's not what it means. We've got to look and see what it says. It says here school, but it pulled it in under amenity kindergarten. So don't be fooled by that. This one here is the university, and this one here is the university, and they give you then the link to the website on that one. And there we are once again, UM6P, and it shows the university there. So we have this kind of information, and what we basically have here are three different types of vector. We have polygons, which are basically squares and triangles, a trigon, a quadrigon, polygon. That's those. We've got line features, such as this railway platform. It's a line. And then we have points, which are these features here for the restaurants. And those are the three basic features that you get that you can put on a map so that you can see things like this star that we had down here under geocoding plugin and results. That as the Gemma Katuba, that is a point. And once again, if I go to scale, and you see that is a point feature in there. But in our UM6P, these are polygons, as are these. When you look at these, I'd have to select the layer. Then this says away, it says the address, but this is basically student dorms, I know from having visited there. That's that restaurant, which you can't get at by being on this layer. Go back to restaurant and click there. There's that restaurant that's in the middle of this, and you'd see that by taking this out. All right? So the question then is, well, what about one of the restaurants that we went to with our host, Dr. Mohammed Aurani, on the way to the railway station coming from the university here? We went to a cafe that doesn't show up under QuickOSM, but I want to put it on the map. So how would I do that and add the information? So what I would do is, first of all, let me look and see where I have that information. So here is a Facebook photo album of college when we visited that on Family Day. And after we had visited, then we went up to this cafe, which is known as Marmara Fruits. And there's the address, Rue Hassan. So we might be able to use geocoding for this if they've put it in. Let's see, Rue Hassan 2 High Amal. So we would go back to our geocoding and say Rue Hassan, and what else did it say? Rue Hassan 2 High Amal, number 26. If the 26 is necessary. High Amal. Let's see what comes up. Nothing there. Let's try it with Rue Hassan. And there is one, but it is on the border. So we don't want that. Can't undo it. There it is. So let's try a different Rue Hassan. Or let's try High Amal. There is a High Amal, but it's in another part of the country. So we've got Rue Hassan and we've got High Amal, and we're not getting anything down in here where we want to see it. Let's try something else here. Marmara Fruits. It has a Facebook, so we may have to resort to that, but let's see if Marmara Fruits shows up. Marmara Fruits. And there is a Marmara Fruits, but it's showing up in Turkey. Okay, so far we're really scratching out. So you have to do a little bit of sleuth investigative journalism. So Marmara Fruits in Morocco, Marmara Fruits Ben Gurir. That's the one we want. And it comes in like this. Let's see if that works. Go back to our geocoding under plugins, geocoding, and let's try that. And it's not located there. So sometimes the geocoder doesn't pick it up. So what do? We can go to the map here, and we can do that technique that we talked about in the first tutorial. Grab the lat long, now come in, and here we would not use the geocoder, we just use the regular locator. And I do want to zoom in, and I want to go to that coordinate. There we are. It's blinking. It was blinking. So it just disappeared. Let's do it again. There it is. That is the building right there. So since we found it, we want to identify it. Now, how would we do that? Well, we could use the geocode input results, but really what we want to do is create a new layer for our particular points. So I'm going to go up to Layer, and I'm going to create a layer. It'll be a new GeoPackage layer. The database is going to be saved in my, let's see where I want to say. I can save it in those documents, but I prefer to save my stuff in my HAF project sites, boundary maps, and data. So I'll save it in my data, and I'll call this file name Culhane Locations of Interest. So that'll be places that I personally have identified, and it'll have a table, an attribute table. And then the geometry type here is going to be points. And I'm going to include the Z dimension if it has it. This isn't a different coordinate system, so it may or may not show up. Notice this is EPSG 4326, and this map is in 3857. I can put it in 3857 and hope that it shows up. Let's see if it does. And then I want to create fields for this, and I want to say the name of the field. The first is name, and it's text. And don't give any maximum length. I add it to the field list. I'll put address, and oh, why did I do that? Let me see here. I want to go to properties. Nope, not properties. I want to go back to my attribute table that I was creating, and I want to add a new field. So there's name that I added, and add feature. No, not add feature, not adding a feature. I'm adding a multi-edit mode, expression, name. What is it I'm adding? I'm adding an actual field calculator, new field is what I'm doing. All right, so the name of this field would be address, and that is a text string as well, and I'd better give it a length of 255, I guess. And then I want to name address, that shows up. Let me add another one by going back to edit, toggle the editing mode, and make a new field, and I'll call it website. And it too will be a string whose length at least 255 characters. All right, that's my table. Stop editing the table and save it. And I should be able to add information into that table. So Culhane Locations of Interest is there. Now note what I do since I've selected that. Also, I'm going to make it so that it has big things, like we want to do like restaurants and stuff. So I'll use a honeycomb as my marker. And I'll go up here to this pencil, and it lets me then go to add a point feature up here. And I will say this restaurant is the Marmara Fruits Cafe, and it is found at Rue Hassan 2, as you can see, but we did find it, I think, Marmara Fruits. We found here the address, so I can copy that address in and bring bring that into the address. And then the website, does it have a website? Add website. So there is no website for Marmara Fruits that we can find, unless, nope. But it does have a Facebook, and it's listed in Website Guru. So let's take the Restaurant Guru address, and let's put that in our attribute table under, here under website, and say OK. Now we have a icon that shows up where that restaurant is. Now we know that we'd left the university, we went in a taxi to this restaurant, then we walked from this restaurant all the way up to the railway station, and now that is recorded for us. Notice that all these things, by the way, though, are temporary scratch layers, so double click on them and you'll have to name them if you want. So otherwise they will disappear the next time that you use these. I'm not sure that I need, well, that's the railways. Okay, we got that. These are railway things I don't really care about, so I'm not going to let those. This is my locations of interest that I am interested in. That they're already saved because I made that myself. The restaurants, that's the university restaurant, so I would put in there UM6P restaurant. Now that's been saved for next time. Fast food or cafes. So all these are redundant. So these two I don't care about. This one I will save, and I'll make it and career restaurants, and I'm saving that layer. As for the university, I will take that and I will say schools, because it does contain that school up there and this school. I can even change the name here, which I don't really care for. I'll just call this schools. And then I don't need this one here, so that can go. I can remove these right now. Oops, not rename, but I want to remove layer. I don't need these two, so I'll remove them. And I do want this restaurant. That is interesting. That is restaurant there. Who are you? Little guy there has a restaurant associated. It's an Italian pizzeria. It's kind of on its own. Let's check the attribute table to see. There's two in there, Posto Gusto and the restaurant at UM6P, that are both in there. I don't suppose we really care about that, so I'm going to remove that layer. And that is it. Then there's that railway narrow gauge. I said I wasn't interested in, I'm going to remove that layer as well. So I've identified the features that I want to keep. This one is one that I myself put in, Culhane locations of interest, the link that I had. And I can make my own paths, for example. So that's a point. If I decided to make a line to show where we walked from here to the railway, then what I would do is add another layer, create another layer, make a new geopackage layer. The database would be, we would make this, click on there, and we will put it in the folder that is the maps and other data. And this geopackage will be called Culhane Paths. So there's Culhane locations of interest, there's Culhane paths, and the geometry type is going to be a line string. Try to include the z-dimension if there is one. It should have a field name of the place. It should have a, I don't know, starting address maybe. What could we put in there? It should have a description. So we can put that, and we can later add other information about the path. For example, photos. We'll put that in and we'll figure that out later on. So we've set up a bit of a table there. There's something called Culhane Paths. I click on it and zoom in here. And what we will then look at is the path that we took. So I'll go to edit that path and I'll pick this polygon, this line tool here, add line feature, and I probably want to make it easy to see. So let's start with a glowing neon, and we can change that later so that when we click on it, we go, okay, fine, we were walking, and you see the line begin to go through. And we walked through here. Now, if you're not seeing that well, and maybe we should grow it a bit, grow it in pixels, maybe go to 5 pixels. No, it's still not big enough. Let's go to 10 pixels. Not really showing up there either. Go to 20 pixels, maybe because I'm in the middle of drawing it. It's not showing up. So we'll have to finish drawing it then. So we went up through here, came up here, and then we walked up and up and up until we came into the railway. And then we will stop editing. And we should now have that path. Now, can we make it bigger? Still not showing up as very big for some reason, but that's the path right there. And if I click on it, oh, it looks like that's very interesting because it's not disappearing either. Layer successfully saved, and we want to save the project. We haven't saved that. This is called Morocco tutorial. All right, so we just have to figure out for a second why this is no longer showing up, meaning what layer is it in. That's odd, because it shouldn't be there. Really? Zoom to layer. There it is. Oh, it's very interesting. There's a layer that we cannot account for. and it still works. And then it disappears. Interesting. Well, let's go to the locations of interest. Let's go to the Google satellite, and let's try this again. If we toggle editing, and we click on this, and we grab it, yeah, it's interesting. It's not interesting. A path to path from Marmara to railway. Ah, that is what it needed. Very interesting. So let me erase this and try this again. I'm going to discard this layer. So we wanted to make a new layer, create a layer, and made a new geopackage layer, and we gave it a name which was found in our boundary maps and data, and we called it Culhane Paths, and the geometry type would be line string, and we said that we wanted to do a name of path and add that to the fields, and then we wanted to do a starting address, and then we wanted to do a photos eventually, and we wanted to say okay, overwrite it, yes. All right, so we had Culhane Paths, and then we went and we clicked on that, and we decided to use the neon and apply it, and we wanted to make it big enough, like 10 pixels, so that we could see it. And then we were going to go to edit, but it needed us to click on here and start drawing, but then right click and then give the name of the path, path from Marmara to railway Ben Guerir. And once you've got data in there and you say okay, now you have that showing up, and then we can edit it. Oh, but it never really gets big until you, isn't that interesting? Yikes. All right. So that is fascinating. So you have to draw your path nice and small. We went there. We walked up the street there and there. Stopped at that pharmacy to get saline solution. Kept walking up the street, and then eventually came in to there, and then we were done. Then we say path from Marmara to railway, and say okay, and it's all there, and then you need to save it, and we can stop editing it, and that's our path. All right. That is well how we walked, and that information is now superimposed. And then if we do want to change that path, now we can make it smaller if we like. We can change the color. We can show it as a pointing arrow, for example, and we can change all the sizes on all those things as well. Main road, So we have a lot of different ways that we can look at that information. So now we've put in a point feature. For the railway station, let's go ahead and put in a polygon, because we've got a point for the restaurant, we've got a line, and now we want a polygon for the railway station. So for the railway station, we'll go to layers, and we'll create a layer, a new geopackage layer, and we will make that geopackage layer called the buildings and other polygons Colhane. And now in here the geometry type is going to be polygon, and it is going to be, I'm going to pick the 387 to make it conform with the map. I'm going to put name and I'm going to put address, and I'm going to put website, oops, and I'm going to put photo and say OK. And now when I click on buildings and I go up to this pencil to edit, I can click on this polygon tool and say, great, I'm going to go there, 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 there. That is my building. And then I can toggle it off, and I should have, I think, if I go to my attribute table, then I need to add something to it, and that would be to add a feature, and the name is going to be Career Train Station, and we can get the address later. If there's a website, it would be Career Train Station, and let's see if there is anything in there. Nothing. So let's go for ONCF. And then we can put that in there. Bring that down and add that to this. And save the changes. Good. Go back to the map. And that is my thing there, but for some reason that is the same problem we had earlier when we were trying to toggle, and I guess I have to hit see, it's really that you've got to hit enter first. So I have to redo this and I have to put my website in. All right. Now it shows up. All right. So to finish something, so just for example, this buildings, if I'm going to go from here and I want to show in here that there was this really cool student center, I'm still in buildings and other polygons by Colhane. I'm still in drawing, and I'm selecting this polygon tool to add. So if I wanted to add this to the, not this rather, sorry. I wanted to add this building, which is the student center, then I would click, 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 maybe even come out that far. And then I have to hit enter, no, right click, that's what I have to do. And then I can say UM6P Student Center, and then I would put the UM6P University address here, and if I can find the student center, that would be cool, but I don't know if it shows up. School, it probably is not going to show up in here, although 1337 near 1337, but it's not that one. Maybe a virtual visit will take us to the right place. Discover. That would be somewhere around here. But what I'll do is I'll just take that and make that the website. All right. And so then website will go there, and then say OK, and bang, now it shows up as a piece there. And when you right click on it and you go to the attribute table, you see that we have the Ben Career train station, we've got the student center, we've actually got 2 train stations. I don't know why, but if I zoom to feature, this one does not have geometry, so this one is a disaster, whereas this one here does have geometry. So this I have to get rid of, and I guess I do that by, save that. I need to edit the table, and then I need to see if there's a way to get rid of this particular feature. Duplicate feature, organize columns, open field calculator, trash this feature. Boom. All right. So now all we have in this attribute table are these 2. Ben Career train station, which we can get to by going, that's that there, and then the, oh, interesting. So now we've got, we lost the building. Ain't that a shame? Well, let's do that again then. So we go back in, this has actually 2 of these. We want to trash this feature and then make sure that it's still working. Ah, we got rid of everything. Buildings. Oh, we'll have to start it all over again and call that practice. So that feature is gone. All right, there is nothing in the attribute table now. Good. And we're going to put something in, so we will go to the train station and we will toggle that. Oh, it came up. How does this? Funny, interesting. All right. Well, that one's still in there. Let's check the attribute table. And it's got everything back into it. Crazy that, isn't it? But this is even there. All right, well, it's all in there. And still don't understand why we have more than one Ben Career train station. Shouldn't need it. So when we toggle the editing, we tell it to get rid of that. That got rid of that one. Building is still there. This one here has no information in it, so it would have to be edited. And if we want to edit it, does not have a geometry, then what we would do is we come in here, click on this, and draw that geometry again. And then right click, and we call this Ben Career train station. And say OK. And now when we save this and turn off the editing toggle and go to our attribute table, we still have 3 different things, but we don't need this one because this has no geometry, right? So when we toggle that and we get rid of this one, now save what we have, toggle off of that, right click, open the attribute table. Now we have that and we have that. That's fine. This one is the train station. This one's the student center. So there's the student center that we've zoomed to, and there is the train station that we zoomed to. So it's all working now. We have our own polygons, we have our own lines, and they're all on our own layers. So sorry for the confusion there. That may be helpful to you if you can see that it does sometimes get that confusing when you don't right-click properly in order to save things. And but that's how you start putting stuff in. So that no matter where you are on the planet Earth, you have the ability to find things like your paths. Where was that path I took? And you could open the attribute table and say, oh, there's the path I took from Marmara to the railway, and then zoom to that feature, and there you are. You have it. So that was a lot. That's covering using the plugin for QuickOSM, and that gave us some of our buildings like our schools right there, and gave us our railways like those. So that's polygons, and gave us some amenities like restaurants like those. But then we showed that you could also put in your own restaurant features like this one here, and you could put in your own buildings and polygons and paths and lines. So that is a start to working with maps and working with vector information, points, polygons, and lines. Thanks.